guests are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
It's time to hit the pick. Touchdown! Sports betting, fantasy football, and the latest NFL news. Featuring Loud Esmond and Christian Giordani. Bet on us to make you a better bettor.
What?
It's time to hit the pick.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another segment of Hit the Pick. I'm your host, Christian Giordani. Alongside of me is Loud Esmond, co-founder of HitThePick.com. And we have Sniper West, who is currently on a 13-1 NBA run. Yes, I salute to you, my friend. That is a great achievement. Loud, how you doing today, Wes?
Good.
Yeah, I'm doing well. Yeah, the NBA has been kind to me lately, let's just say. I've been on fading that Sixer train. We were talking offline about the Sixers and how terrible of a season they've had so far. And I think I think 3 of my 4 last wins, I faded the Sixers. We'll see what happens tonight because I'm on Cleveland minus 10.5. They're tied going into halftime, but I need a big second half from the Cavs, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm on a 6-1 NFL run right now. Actually have been doing pretty well on totals as well as picking sides. This weekend, though, is tough. This is a rough weekend. It's a hard slate. And I was just in Vegas for 2.5 days, and which is about as much Vegas as I can take. And the excitement's building there. You can see it in the sports books, that there's a lot of betting people are getting ready to do. So it's coming up. It'll be interesting to see if the public stays hot, because one of the things I was talking to a sportsbook manager about that was surprising about this year in the NFL is generally the public does very poorly in the NFL and the books crush the public. Now, the professional bettors, the syndicates, they make their money. They do okay. But the public is where the big books in Vegas make their money. And this year, the public, West, has been right a lot.
So weeks, I can tell you from personal experience, because I have some really good friends who are actually big-time bookmakers, believe it or not, but my lips are sealed as far as their identities. But weeks 1 through 4, the public got hammered this year. Weeks 5, 6, 7, and 8, the public made it all back. They cleaned up. Yeah, and there's been some it's just what happened is a lot of the overs hit this year and a lot of the favorites hit this year. And when that happens, all those parlays cash. Everybody betting the over on the late night game, and that cashes. It's just, obviously the books are going to win long term most of the time. But when favorites are winning and when overs are winning, it's not an ideal situation for the book.
Yeah, just like chicks dig the long ball, the public loves the over. Just the way it is. And a man who knows something about long balls, Christian, yes. We're going to talk a little NFL this weekend. Are you ready to pick some of these couple of?
Yeah, I'm ready to pick the whole shebang of games, all 2 of them going ahead. Divisional round is here. We have the road to the Super Bowl officially. The last 2 teams in each conference or each division see each other. And starting off the week at 12 p.m., we have the Commanders and Eagles, division rivals, meet in the last game. How do you guys feel?
Well, I'll tell you what. Wow. Speaking of the public cleaning up, the public got destroyed with the Commanders beating the Lions last week. That wiped out all the parlays. Yeah. Everybody and their mother was on the line. I don't know anybody that was on the Commanders. I was on the Lions too. I was actually Loud, you won because you had the over in that game.
All you guys were. I lone wolfed it on the over. Everybody was on the under because it was 55.5. What did it end up at, like 73 or something?
Yeah. I mean, I think it went over early third quarter, maybe even by halftime.
Halftime, it was like 5 points almost at the over.
Yeah. But I'm gonna drink the Kool-Aid this week with the Commanders. So I'm taking them +6. Well, actually, where are we right now? What's the line now?
+6. It's still at +6. It opened at +4.5.
So yeah, obviously everybody's pounding Philly for the line to already move. 1.5 toward the Eagles. But Washington was 13-5. Philly was 14-3 on the season. Like both these teams actually were very good covering teams. The Commanders were 12-6-1 against the spread. The Eagles were 12-7 versus the spread on the season. Both teams split the regular season series. The Eagles won the first game 26-18. The Commanders won 36-33 on December 22nd back in Maryland. But Jalen Daniels, who's going to be Rookie of the Year, nothing phases him. He sees the field very well. He doesn't turn the ball over, which is rare for rookies. And so in every single game the Commanders have played this year, including the playoffs, they scored 29 points per game. It's just a lot of points, man. And I think they're going to do it again. I think they're going to put up a lot of points. Cliff Kingsbury, he's done wonders with Jaden Daniels. And, they were talking about him maybe being a head coach for another team, but he decided to stay with the Commanders because he wants to work with Jaden Daniels because he knows this kid is special. Who also knows that Jalen Hurts is 100%. And the Commanders defense, they're going to have to focus on stopping Saquon Barkley. That's the one thing that scares me a little bit about taking the Commanders +6 because Saquon's just running over everybody right now. In fact, I saw something on Twitter. He's going to overtake Terrell Davis's season yardage total, including the playoffs, right? So some people might say, well, yeah, he had 18 games. Well, no, he didn't because he didn't play week 18, right? So it's actually still the same amount of games. But I am going to roll with the Commanders when it's all said and done. It's obviously a good public fade with the line moving toward the Eagles that much. So most of the public is probably on the Eagles. So, sometimes it's good to fade the public and be, play with the casinos, as they say. So I am going to roll Commanders +6. I like that angle. Probably like the over a little bit too, but I'm just going to stick to his side here and take the Commanders +6.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that over real quick because these are two teams in top 10 at points per game. With Jalen Hurts not being 100%, do you think that stays at the over or goes under?
Well, I will say this. So as far as the line movement, it opened at 48.5 and it's come down to 47.5. Okay. So what that would lead you to believe is that all the money's coming in on the under, but that's not the case. The money, not the money. The bets are coming in. The bet count or the ticket count is coming in on the over. So the public is pounding the over, yet the line is moving down. And why is that? Because the sharp money or the respected money or the people wagering $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 on this game are betting on the under, which is why it's still coming down despite the majority of the tickets being on the over. It's called reverse line movement, something you got to watch out for. So, I don't know. I still think it's going to be a high scoring game, which is why I think the Commanders are going to cover, but sharp money is on the under here. FYI.
Correct. Loud Esmond, your genius analysis on this game.
So I've got a premium on the over under in this game, and I've got this wired. I've been hitting really well on over unders scores in, like I said, I'm in the I'm like 6-1 in NFL betting right now in the playoffs. So I got a behind the paywall great play on the over-under over at hitthepick.com. By the way, and you can get it for free right now and get a few more bets for free. You go to hitthepick.com right now. You sign up to be a follower of the website. And guess what? You get $100 towards picks, not free picks, $100 real money credit towards great top of the line picks by people like Sniper West, who's on a 13-1 NBA run. And I'm on a 6-1 NFL run. So you got a couple of guys that, are rolling along pretty well here. And then there's David Delano, Scott Steen, Tom Rye, who all also are great handicappers. And so you go there right now, just go get them for free that are behind the paywall. And we're only going to allow that for another, a little bit of time. We may pull it right after Super Bowl, but right now, if you sign up at the website, you get $100. All right. So I got a parlay for you, Wes. You're not a big parlay guy, I know. And I'm generally not, but I think this is very interesting. Okay. So first of all, I'm going Saquon Barkley, at least one TD. Him over 0.5 TDs is -225. Okay. Not a lot of value by itself. But then add to that, I'm going Jalen Hurts under 32.5 rushing yards. He averages around 40 per game. I think it's like 39.98. But given the knee, I don't think they're going to call a lot of Jalen go run the ball. I don't. In fact, they may not call any. They've got a great running back in Saquon Barkley, so why would you risk the health of your quarterback when you don't have to? And I'm going to disagree with you on the team side for the purposes of this parlay bet, because I did a little digging, and it was kind of counterintuitive to me, but the AFC and NFC divisional games, a lot of them are blowouts. I was looking at the history, and a lot of these games are won by 10, 12, 14, 17 points. The margin of victory of these games is higher than any of the other playoff weekends. And that doesn't make sense, right, Christian?
No, not at all.
But sometimes things are just counterintuitive, and that's, if I had told you that, Wes, hey, the highest point differentiator win in the NFL playoffs is the championship, the conference championship weekend, you would have said,
I would think it'd be wild card weekend,
and it isn't.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So the final leg of the three pick parlay here on this game is Eagles -6. So you've got Jalen Hurts under 32.5 yards rushing. That's -110. Eagles -6. That's -110. Saquon at least one touchdown. That's -225. But add it all up together, and it's a 5-1 payout.
Not bad. Yeah, there's some correlating stuff going on there too, because let's say, Jalen Hurts is kind of hampered with, the leg issue. So A, he's not running, so maybe you win that leg. B, maybe they don't do the tush push. Maybe they get down to the 2 or the 1, and they don't want to risk the tush push, so they say, hey, let's give it to Saquon.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. They'll give it to Barkley because they're not going to want to make Jalen the guy.
And and then at that point, those two correlate, and they're, they go together, so they both win. Then all you got to win is the -6, and you got yourself plus 500. So it's not a bad angle there.
I think it's the Eagles' defense that's going to make a difference in this game. The thing that I overlooked, I think everybody overlooked, even though it was staring us right in the face in the Lions-Commanders game, is the Lions' defense, Wes. It was paper mache.
Yeah.
I mean, and they were outscoring everybody.
Yeah.
And how long can you keep doing that? Everything on your offense has to go perfect. And yeah, they had guards catching touchdown passes on screenplays. I mean, they were so good at, and that's why I am sick that the Lions aren't going to the Super Bowl, because they were so fun to watch all season. And I love their coach, and I love their team, and I love their culture. And now they've been gutted. They've lost both coordinators. I'm going to fade the Lions over-under number next season, because I think the public is going to go, oh, they won 14 games last year. Let's not underestimate, because I bet the Lions, mark this down on the tape right now, Christian.
I'm marking it down. I'm right in.
The Lions will be no lower than 12 to 13 wins in their over-under next year.
12 to 13 wins.
They will be, when the over-under opens, the Lions will be like 12, 12.5, 13.
Are you going to double down and say the Lions are going to win a Super Bowl next year?
No, I'm going to fade the Lions next year. I'm going to say they're going to win less than 12.5 or 13. They're going to win
less than 12.5.
Yeah, because they've lost both coordinators.
Yeah.
So they've got to start all over. And their coach is a culture coach. He's not the X's and O's.
He's not an X's and O guy. You're right. He's not. Yeah, well, first off, with the Lions out of the playoffs, I immediately am 1,000% rooting for the Buffalo Bills to win the Super Bowl. Just
please.
Yeah, from a fan perspective, and I'm not even a Bills fan, but I just want to see him win. A, B. The loss of Aiden Hutchinson is what really killed the Lions, because obviously they had a lot of guys out, but Aiden Hutchinson was the heart and soul of that defense. And
Yep.
when he went out, they still played well. They still won a lot of games, but they couldn't get any pressure on Jaden Daniels. And when they did, they had no one to really contain him. He was able to run the ball. And, it was kind of funny.
I very much remember watching the Ohio State-Michigan game when Aiden Hutchinson wrecked Ohio State.
Yeah.
I mean, just every other play, he's making a sack, a tackle for loss. I was in a hotel room in New York City. I had just done an appearance on Fox and Friends that morning. And my flight didn't leave till like 4:45 in the afternoon. So I'm in my hotel in New York watching that game. And it's like one of those things in your head you'll never forget, right? Mm-hmm. And so he was monstrous in that game. And yeah, that was a huge and devastating loss. Speaking of huge and devastating losses, can Buffalo please, God, defeat Kansas City? Please.
Yeah.
Anything but Kansas City in the Super Bowl again.
Yeah, Chiefs fans do travel. They definitely travel. But I got to think that about 85% of America's got to be rooting for the Buffalo Bills for sure, myself included.
The Kansas City Chiefs are now the New England Patriots.
Can we believe 5 years ago we were rooting for Kansas City beat New England?
Yeah.
How the tables have turned.
Well, the only thing that I would say, though, is people hated New England more than Kansas City, and that's because of the cheating, the whole cheating controversy.
But wait a minute. The Chiefs have their own thing, which is the freaking referees.
Yeah.
And Mahomes apologized for flopping in the last game. He admitted it.
Yeah. They need to do something about that maybe this offseason. Like if you flop like that, maybe not even penalize them, but if you pretend like you're going out of bounds and then you cut back and you go back in and try to get more yardage. No. Where you gave yourself off.
Okay, let me point this out. The Pitt quarterback, Kenny Pickett, on a run in his bowl game a couple of years ago, faked a slide. The defender pulled up, and then he kept going, and he scored a touchdown.
Yeah. You can't have it.
College football immediately that offseason said if a quarterback does that, they're disqualified from the game, and it's a 15-yard penalty on the offense.
That's pretty hardcore. They did that. I don't think the NFL would do that. But when you're preaching about CTE and preaching
I'm kidding about the disqualified from the game thing. It's a 15-yard.
I was going to say that's a little hardcore. But when you're preaching CTE
for the quarterback's execution.
Right. Yeah. No, for sure. But, when they're preaching CTE and concussions and don't hit them in the head and, you do this to the quarterback and keep your hands off the quarterback, do not touch them, or thou shalt be disqualified from the game. It's like, and then they cut back up and you don't push them out of bounds and they cut back for 5 more yards. That's just not fair. You've already handcuffed the defense too much. You can't continue to do that. They got to do something about that. It's just not fair.
All right. So let's talk about this Kansas City and Buffalo Bills game. We know where everybody's heart is, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're a Kansas City fan, the rest of the world is like, please, Buffalo, do us a favor. Beat the Chiefs. I mean, that's like the message from the fandom in the world of football is beat the Chiefs.
Don't let Scott Steen hear you.
No, and Steen knows it. We've joked about it. That
Steen picked the Bills.
Yeah,
Steen's on the Bills.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And I understand the thinking, which is, okay, so when I'm watching a football game and a team repeatedly in the first half gets into the red zone and they have to kick a field goal or they turn it over on downs and they had the opportunity to be leading the game by like 28-3 and they're only winning 14-7. I am always going, oh my God, that is going to come back and bite them in the ass. They're going to lose. Kansas City, how many things? The blocked field goal, Denver. The field goal doink. I don't even remember what team that was. The number of times penalties bailed them out.
Yeah.
They
no calls.
Go ahead, Christian.
No. Going ahead. I said just no calls as well. They get away for no calls.
Yeah, no calls, right? Like obvious, like you see the guy that's rushing up the middle and he's having his head pulled off by the center of Kansas City, and there's no call. And the ref's staring right at it. And you're like, what are you doing? The question is this: which way is that voodoo going to go? Is the voodoo going to finally, is it that the voodoo's going to finally run out? Because keep in mind, Buffalo beat them by double digits earlier this season. And they have built their team to beat the Chiefs. Or is it that they've sold their soul to the devil and they're just going to win? That to me, see, and they're so in my head that here I am, a professional sports handicapper. Am I talking numbers? Nope. Am I talking decent analysis? No. What I'm worried about is Satan on their side? Here's my question. That's how screwed I am about the Kansas City Chiefs, Wes.
Yeah. Well, going back to all the penalties and everything. So I'm a big fan of the Dan Patrick Show. I listen every day. So I retweeted this today, but it says in 11 playoff games since 2021, the Chiefs have had 36 penalties. Their opponents have had 66. It's almost twice as many. That's 220 plus extra penalty yards in favor of Kansas City. So every single game, their opponents had more penalties than the Chiefs. So is it discipline from Andy Reid's squad? Is it luck, or is it something else? Sounds like it's something else to me.
Sounds like something else. And Scott would deny it, and every Kansas City Chiefs fan would deny it. And I'm sorry, the referees know where their bread is buttered. Okay. Yeah. And
it's the Michael Jordan effect.
Right. Yeah. And what scares me is in this game, I believe the Buffalo Bills are a better team than the Kansas City Chiefs. I believe Josh Allen is now the best quarterback in the NFL. Anybody disagree with me?
No, and you know me how I feel about Josh Allen.
Okay, so that's where I'm just, and I've got a premium pick on this game too, and I think I actually have this absolutely nailed as well. So I am not going to do a side pick in this game, but I'll give out what I think in terms of the over-under. Christian, hit me with the current number, please.
Right now, the over-under sits at 48.5.
Yeah, I'm under that number.
I agree with you there.
Yeah, the Chiefs are not going to score a lot against Buffalo because Buffalo has built their team to beat the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes was so upset at the end of their game where they lost to Buffalo. I believe he was sacked like 8 times in that game. And he was really petulant and petty and crappy when Josh Allen went to do the handshake and the hug. And he's like, man, that was a terrible call. Blah, blah. And Allen was like, okay, dude, whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Wes, your analysis, because I'm talking gibberish.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, we have about maybe 4 more minutes, so I can hit this game if you want. I have some plays for tomorrow if you guys want to hit them. But so the Bills were 14-4, Kansas City 15-2, but that's a deceiving 15-2, right? We just talked about all the luck Kansas City had. Buffalo did win over Kansas City. They played this year, if you remember. They beat them 30-21 back in Buffalo. That was November 17th. Bills were a great covering team. They were 12-7 against the number. Kansas City is 9-0 at home, though, so a little scary to fade them here at Arrowhead. But, yeah, I'm going to stick with you, Loud. I'm going to go under 48.5 too. I like the under here. The Chiefs defense is really good. They've only allowed 19 points per game. The Bills, they've only allowed 21 points per game. It doesn't take a mathematician to add that up to 40 points a game. Granted, that's not exactly how the stats work all the time, but I just think points are going to be hard to come by. Sharp money has hit the line. It opened at 4. It's actually come down. It opened at 48. It went down to 47.5. I think it went back up, and it's come back down. So it's been teeter-totter a little bit. But I like the under. The under's gone. The total has gone under in 6 of the Chiefs' last 7 games, period, just in general. So they're playing to the under. They're slowing the pace of the game down. They're playing in unders game after game.
Because
after
they
game.
know if they try to match Buffalo score for score, it doesn't work for them.
They don't want to shoot it. Not this year. Maybe next year if they get some wide receivers back from Mahomes. That losing Tyreek Hill kind of really killed the offensive mojo of this team. They're not the same team they were when they played the Niners in the Super Bowl.
You know, it's so funny. Sometimes you look at the history of players and teams. Imagine if Tyreek Hill had just stayed with Kansas City for a little more money. What if Kobe had been able to coexist with Shaq, right?
Yep.
I mean, it's just crazy what these players do. And now you have Tyreek Hill complaining that he's on a crappy team. And it's like, dude, well, you took the money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All right.
Just put my 2 cents into this game.
Please.
I want to take Buffalo +2 so bad in this game. But I cannot bet against the Chiefs in the playoffs until they prove me wrong. I'm going -2. And just to follow everyone over on that trend, I am on the under as well in this game.
1 minute.
Yeah, that's sort of the big point here is, the public would love to see the Bills. Everybody would love to see the Bills. Somebody's going to have to beat the Chiefs to make that true. And remember, the Bills had them beat with 18 seconds left.
Yeah.
Kansas City still beat them. So,
That's not Josh Allen's fault. They should have had that one.
Yeah, I just have no faith because of that. All right, Christian, take us out.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much. It's been Hit the Pick. I'm Chris Giordani, Sniper West, Loud Esmond. We'll see you guys next week to see who goes to the Super Bowl.